By August 2025, the streaming service faced a devastating lawsuit demanding $9 million in unpaid royalties that was filed directly by Sony Music. Following this legal action, their entire catalog of music was pulled from the service immediately, leaving millions of users with empty playlists. Yet this financial crisis marked merely another chapter in a decades-long history defined by constant disruption and legal battles. On March 25, 2025, Napster was sold to Infinite Reality, signaling another ownership change after years of significant instability and restructuring attempts. Millions of users connected daily, creating a network effect that traditional infrastructure could never have supported or imagined possible before. To see how we got here, we must look back at how this company first emerged onto the digital music scene. A piece of computer software released on June 1, 1999, changed how we listen to music forever and started a revolution. Sean Fanning and Sean Parker founded the original Napster platform utilizing peer-to-peer technology that effectively bypassed traditional music distribution channels completely. Audio shared on the service was typically encoded in the MP3 format, which allowed incredibly tiny files to store full songs easily. The P2P model employed a centralized database indexing all songs from connected clients, creating instant access without central servers ever holding the files. Millions were downloaded within months, challenging record labels who saw their revenue streams evaporate almost overnight without warning or receiving actual compensation for it. Major music groups united to aggressively fight this unauthorized distribution, claiming that massive copyright infringement violated their intellectual property rights every single time. Legal pressure mounted rapidly as courts began issuing injunctions that forced the company to stop sharing copyrighted material immediately. Napster shut down in 2001 following a series of lawsuits over copyright infringement, ending its original era for good. After reaching that specific point, the company filed for bankruptcy in June 2002 as financial obligations became impossible to meet. Napster assets were eventually acquired by Roxio and reemerged as Napster 2.0 in Roxio's attempt to find legality again. Best Buy later purchased the service before selling it to Rhapsody on December 1, 2011, moving ownership once more at that time. Until 2016, the service was known domestically as Rhapsody, before rebranding back to the famous original name once more. In 2016, the original branding was restored when Rhapsody was officially renamed back to Napster. Operations remained centered in Seattle while the corporate structure shifted repeatedly under new management teams seeking sustainable profitability models for future growth. In 2022, the Napster streaming service was acquired by Hivemind and Algorand, an acquisition that brought blockchain technology into the legacy platform structure. Ownership changed hands again on March 25, 2025, when it was sold to Infinite Reality, marking another significant pivot point. This sale came right before the major legal conflict with Sony Music that threatened its remaining catalog stability completely. Following the lawsuit, their catalog of music was pulled from the service, causing immediate and significant disruption to subscriber bases everywhere. In January 2026, Napster became a generative AI media creator with virtual assistant services while attempting to redefine value beyond just streaming songs. This shift represents a fundamental change in strategy, moving away from licensed music libraries and toward automated content generation technology. Artists and labels now face new questions about how AI-generated audio interacts with existing copyright frameworks globally. The company must navigate these complex legal waters while trying to maintain any semblance of a functional business model as it moves forward. Old partnerships dissolved quickly as the focus shifted toward building proprietary algorithms that can generate music without direct human input. Investors watched closely to see if this new direction would satisfy creditors demanding payment for unpaid royalty debts. A specialized development team began creating tools for creators rather than just curating the major label catalogs previously available on the platform. Virtual assistant services promise to help users create content, but have now raised significant concerns about originality and potential infringement on human-created works. Legal experts debated whether generating new tracks avoided the substantial royalty liability that Sony Music claimed was owed specifically for past usage. Meanwhile, competitors capitalized on the chaos by offering stable streaming options, while Napster struggled to rebuild trust with its music industry partners. The brand name remained recognizable, but its core function shifted entirely from sharing files to automatically creating synthetic media outputs. The wild energy of this strange second life makes sense only beside the earthquake the company caused the first time around. Rewind to 1999 and picture a teenage programmer coding through the night in a university dorm room on a borrowed idea. Sean Fanning wanted a simple way to find songs his friends already owned, so he built software that let their computers talk directly. The application spread across college campuses within weeks because students suddenly had fast connections and an endless appetite for free music. Within a single year, the network exploded to tens of millions of registered users, growing faster than any online service before it. At its absolute peak, the platform claimed roughly 80 million registered accounts trading songs around the clock across the entire planet. Then Metallica discovered an unreleased demo circulating on the network before its release date, and the conflict suddenly became deeply personal. Drummer Lars Ulrich personally delivered boxes of printouts to Napster's office, naming hundreds of thousands of users accused of sharing the band's songs. Dr. Dre joined the legal assault soon after, while some quieter artists admitted the exposure was actually introducing their music to new listeners. Universities across America began blocking the application entirely after file-sharing traffic swallowed the majority of their campus network bandwidth. The Recording Industry Association pressed its landmark case, and federal judges agreed the service was enabling infringement on a massive scale. The original copyright infringement lawsuits from 20 years prior resurfaced as a cautionary tale for executives managing the new artificial intelligence division. Veterans of the original team watched the AI pivot with familiar unease, remembering how quickly courtrooms had ended their first revolution. Every owner since has tried to squeeze value from a brand whose fame was built on giving music away for free. This cyclical pattern of innovation followed by regulation created a complex landscape where technology consistently outpaced statutory protections for intellectual property rights significantly. After the 2001 shutdown, millions of displaced users simply scattered to successors like Kazaa and LimeWire that proved far harder to sue. The industry responded by suing individual downloaders by the thousands, a campaign that alienated the very customers it hoped to win back. Apple sensed the vacuum and launched the iTunes Store in 2003, selling individual songs legally for 99 cents each. Legal downloads finally gave consumers the convenience the file-sharing era had proven they wanted, this time with artists actually getting paid. Years later, Spotify built a streaming empire on the very same insight, delivering any song instantly for a simple monthly subscription. Sean Fanning moved on to new ventures while Sean Parker became the founding president of a young startup called Facebook. Studies still argue over whether file sharing truly destroyed record sales, but industry revenue never returned to its 1999 peak. The concept of authorship became increasingly ambiguous when multiple prompts and datasets contributed to the final output that listeners now fully perceive as a single song. As synthetic media grows, regulatory bodies across different countries face the complex challenge of harmonizing standards for disclosure. For a generation of listeners, the grinning cat logo remains shorthand for the moment music finally broke free of physical discs. Some independent creators embraced the technology to produce high-quality content without needing the expensive recording equipment or professional engineering assistance previously required. Major labels responded by launching their own proprietary AI tools to maintain control over the value chain within the rapidly changing digital music economy. Market consolidation accelerated as smaller startups acquired by larger entities struggled to compete with established brands possessing deep pockets for legal defense. Consumer loyalty remained fluid as users switched between platforms based on the quality of generated results rather than brand heritage or historical significance. The distinction between listening and creating blurred as interactive tools allowed audiences to modify songs directly and fully in real time during playback sessions. Ethical considerations dominated internal discussions regarding the use of deceased artists' voices to generate new material without consent from surviving family members or estates. Legal precedents established during the original Napster era were revisited to determine if current AI models constituted transformative work or mere infringement of existing compositions. Technological advancements in natural language processing have now made it easier for users to request specific stylistic elements without needing technical knowledge of music theory. The platform expanded beyond music to include podcast generation and audiobook narration services, now fully utilizing the same underlying neural network architecture for efficiency. Revenue diversification became essential for survival as competition from other generative AI providers increased significantly within the broader media creation software market. Strategic partnerships were formed with hardware manufacturers to fully integrate voice generation capabilities directly into consumer electronics like smart speakers and mobile phones. Data privacy concerns emerged when users realized their voice samples could be stored and used for future model training without explicit opt-in consent options being clearly available. Transparency initiatives were launched to label AI-generated content clearly so listeners could make informed choices about what they were consuming digitally. Industry unions lobbied for legislation requiring disclosure of machine-generated material in commercial advertising to protect human talent from being fully replaced without notice. The original vision of democratizing music distribution was realized, but through a different mechanism that now fully shifted power from consumers to centralized model developers. Financial sustainability remained a question as development costs for maintaining cutting-edge AI infrastructure continued to rise faster than current subscription revenue growth rates. Industry observers wondered if consolidation would continue until only a few dominant players controlled the infrastructure required to run advanced generative music models. Cultural acceptance of synthetic art grew as younger generations who had never known physical media became the primary drivers of consumption habits across all platforms. The legacy of the file-sharing era persisted in the expectation that content should be instantly accessible without barriers, regardless of underlying legal or technical complexities. As development continued into the next phase, internal teams faced pressure to innovate faster than competitors while managing increasing regulatory scrutiny from government agencies globally. That radical shift transformed its symbol of piracy into a legitimate engine for synthetic sound that now competes directly against human artists and creators. The original platform vanished decades ago, yet its brand identity persists as a powerful reminder that technology often outlives the laws it challenges,